Hello and welcome to our podcast, Mystic Sisters. And in today's episode, we are talking about Jim Morrison. Kelly's a very big fan of Jim Morrison, and soon will be the anniversary of his passing. So we're going to talk about him and about the ending of his life. And we've both picked up on Jim's energy as well, and there may be messages that come through during the podcast.
I'm wearing a shirt today. I wear a shirt all the time, but I'm going to wear this more often now, because it's his death anniversary coming up. But
it's a nice t-shirt.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been picking up on a sadness around him lately because of it's so close to his death anniversary, and I'm picking up on the feeling that he wasn't ready to go, that he's still attached a little bit to his earthly life, his last life as Jim, and he feels kind of like unsettled about it, just about the certain things that happened to him, because it's a shock. It was a shock, like it wasn't something that he was expecting to happen. So when you go, it's almost like kind of like unsettling for him in a way, of the events that happen, and like a certain sadness around this time, because he had so much potential and so much going for him, and there was so much more that he wanted to do.
Yes, I feel like he had a lot of missions on this earth during his lifetime as Jim. I feel that I feel like he would, if he'd carried on living, he would have gone into healing. He would have used his platform for healing, and there is this frustration because his life was cut short, so he wasn't able to properly fulfill his purpose and to achieve what he set out to do in this life. Because sometimes people may come to earth for a short period of time. They may decide that they want a shorter lifetime because they don't have as much to learn during that particular lifetime. But I feel like with Jim, he was meant to have a longer life. He had a mission. I feel like he wasn't able to achieve the purpose that he set out to do in that life, and so it's why it's been difficult for him to move on fully, because he wasn't able to achieve that purpose.
Yeah, I agree. And he came in to the world like he had like he was able to, I'm trying to put this in words, like he had gifts, and he was able to see things like the other side. And I feel that for most of his life he had that ability, but more towards the end things were getting confusing, like things were getting blurry for him. It was harder for him to see and to know like who he could trust. Like he had problems because there was just so much buzz around him, like noise and like people's energy, that I feel like it was harder for him to figure that out. Like he really didn't know at the end, like of who he could trust around him at the end, because I feel like he wasn't that grounded anymore, that he was having trouble remaining grounded,
Yeah, the substances that he had at the end of his life, I feel, played a part in that and grounded feeling. And also, he had so many people around him as well. And with that level of fame, there's always people who want something. And I feel that he didn't really have much time alone to ground. He had always had someone around him that wanted his energy, that wanted his time, and so it was difficult for him to ground himself, and also because of the traveling as well, the touring, he wasn't able to really stay in one place for too long.
That makes a lot of sense. And I feel like he wasn't a drug addict, but he was just taking drugs, I think, that were around him if people offered them to him.
Yeah.
And didn't you mention when you channeled him a few weeks ago, didn't you mention also that he was being drugged by someone around him, right?
Yeah, I feel like he kept showing me that there was someone around him that was giving him stuff, but he didn't know what it was. I feel like he was led to believe it was something different to what it was, so it was stronger than what he thought it was, and this person was trying to control him, trying to manipulate him, and he so yeah, gradually he lost more and more control. There were a lot of people around him. He didn't have many people around him that he could really trust. There were a lot of manipulative people. There was people who were using him all the time.
And I just got something that I feel he wanted to mention is like not to give your power away. I feel like he's always been big on saying something like that, that he wanted to tell people like to learn from what happened to him, not to give your power away to anybody, that at the end he just kept giving it away to a lot of people, and he wishes he didn't do that.
Yeah, he's saying that he was naive to start with, that he was too trusting of people around him. He did learn to become more guarded, but there's a lot of manipulation going on around him, and so he feels like he's saying that it's important that we are careful about who we let into our lives, careful about who we give our energy to, because there are a lot of people around that do have negative intentions. There are people who use others. Yeah, he's saying that it's important that we know ourselves, that we create time to ground ourselves as well, and we because this will help us with understanding who we are and what we want. He's seen the importance of creating time for ourselves, and also on developing our intuition as well, because our intuition will guide us to who we can trust, and it will alert us to negative people, people that want to use us.
That's a good idea about the intuition, that everybody really should do that, because everybody has the ability to do it and they should. I picked up also just now that um, he felt like his manager was trying to take his rights away from him, like rights as far as to his music and things, like things that were Jim's, like he was trying to take that from him.
I feel like there were disagreements about the kind of music that Jim wanted to do and the kind of work that he wanted to do. I feel like there's more and more control around him, and his manager was keen to make him more commercial. I feel that he was trying to take away his creativity. He was trying to prevent him from expressing himself fully, because I feel like Jim wanted more independent. He wanted to be more experimental. So there was disagreements in that area, because Jim was because the manager obviously wanted to make more money, and Jim wasn't doing what he was told, and so there were disagreements. And he's saying that it's important that we remember our voice, that we do what feels right for us, and because there'll always be people that will try to manipulate us, to control us. And he's saying it's important to express ourselves. I feel Jim is a strong advocate of freedom of speech.
Yeah, I definitely like I agree with that. He is an advocate on that, and then about freedom, like everybody should have their own personal freedom and make their own decisions for themselves. Nobody should give away their power, and like everybody should still feel free to express themselves how they want to. They shouldn't be told what to do.
Yeah, he's saying that there is more control being taken away from us, and he's saying that we have to affirm our rights for freedom of speech. We have to actively ensure that we keep our freedom of speech. Don't give it away for an easy life.
I agree with that. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's easy to fall into, like, I could see what happened to him, because when you're not grounded and you've got a lot of people around you like he did, I mean, he just had massive amounts of people, fans, friends, people, family, everybody, his manager, he just always had somebody around him. He said to me something like there was always like a buzzing in his ear. There was always somebody. Like he just never had like
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it is important that we always have time for ourselves to reflect, and so we get to know ourselves and what we want. Because otherwise, he's saying if we're always around others, if we don't give ourselves time to understand ourselves and know what we want, then we're easily manipulated. And because he always had people around him all the time, he always had people telling him what to do, and at times he felt like he was losing who he was. So I feel like it's always important to have that balance to make sure that we have time for reflection.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, The Mystic Sisters. We'll be back again soon with another episode.